Hello everyone, it's Ranger at 64 and welcome back to another League of Legends lore reading video. Today, I will be reading the lore of Tahm Kench, the River King. The waterways of Valoran are old, but far older still is the demon Tahm Kench. From muddy gambling tents along the serpentine river, through the salt-crusted dice halls of Bilgewater, to the gilded wagering tables of Piltover and Zaun, all those who have given a covetous glance to another's wealth know the unending hunger that comes from an encounter with the River King. The first tales of the creature were told by a traveling people who piled the Serpentine. They warn of a giant fish with a carnivorous mouth who would lure in a dissatisfied with the promise of more. One such story was that of a young man renowned for his honesty, though born to the ways of a raftsman. He desired a life beyond the poor banks he knew so well, and the River King promised him an unforgettable experience if only he would tell one little lie. It seemed harmless enough, so the raftsman bent the truth in conversation with his own brother. That night the demon appeared, revealing a fork in the river of the raftsman had never noticed before. He followed it to a camp of a foreign folk, who offered him food and drink and fresh companionship. As dawn neared, the raftsman was pulled and ready to return to his people. The demon appeared again, promising an even greater experience for another lie. His interest quickened, and the man accepted his bargain. Telling falsehoods to his hosts, the river parted again, and he followed it to an evening of even greater luxury. This continued night after night, until the once honest raftsman deceits came as easily as breathing. When the river finally emptied into the sea, he found himself alone and lost. There was no one left to lie to. So many dark choices, all of them his own, had left the raftsman with no way back home. The brackish rivers of the mainland carried the tales of the River King to the Blue Flame Isles, where the creature gained a name as his legend grew, Tahm Kench. In Bilgewater, fortunes are bummed or bust, with as much wealth going out with the tide as comes in. Many a tavern yarn tells of an old Tom, a demon of the water, with an unending appetite for games of chance, such that the loquacious beast became a symbol for many of the city's gambling dens and house of sin. Once the sun gates open, easy trade from Bilgewater to Piltover, tales of Tahm Kench became more common in the city of progress and its underbelly, Zaun. There, children know Tom as Two Coats, a fish so monstrously large that he wears two fine jackets stitched together, with a jaunty top hat and a smile wider than the pit itself. He drives a jealousiest of a young artificers. It is said he came one progress day to a struggling Piltovan inventor, and offered her an idea certain to make a wealthy clan take notice. All he asked in return was a single lock of her hair. The ambitious woman made the trade, and true enough, her work landed her a lucrative contract. But one invention would not satisfy. The two coats wandered by, this time asking for all of her lovely braids. Not wishing to disappoint her new patrons, the inventor agreed. The two coats ate them up on the spot. Still, the woman was unable to find the one great innovation that would make her name. The demon came again, offering a deal that would take the tip of one finger. The following week, it was a year passed, and by then there was little left of the woman to give. Finally, she called Two Coats herself, begging him to make it all stop. He laughed as he opened his jaws wide, telling her he would protect her from herself, and promptly swallowed her whole. The River King, the Great Waddler, Old Yawn Belly, Two Coats, the demon Tahm Kench is known by many names, but all who speak them have learned a singular truth. No matter how alluring his words may be, in his mouth you will be lost. My, that's quite a haul ye have there, eh? One at the tables, was it? Well, here's to a very good health. Cheers. Oh no, I'll be rolling in the dice with ye. Not a gambling man nor more, or so I tell myself. There were a time, though. What happened? Well, here's what happened. The River King happened. That's what. Aye, Two Coats. That old devil Tahm Kench. He's what's happened. I was bilge poor, beg your pardon, and livin' on a flopped house. Had nothing to me name. Not till a single gold krakeneye. This one combed into my possession. I could tell you now, and I could tell you, how, but you call me a liar, huh? So with this one coin, what I ought to done was pay me debts and find a new crew to join. I was a harpooner, see? I should have put aside whatever was left of, my future. Been responsible, like harpooning's a life. It's a harsh life, even for me, a young man. But that's when the River King found me. Why work someone else's ship, he says, slaving away, risking your life for next to nothing, when you might have a ship your own. I just had to think bigger. Like, of course, one crack hackin' won't buy a ship. But you had an answer to that, didn't he? Dice. One good throw, all the bones, and I'd have enough to start me my own little operation. Others could do the danger work while I sits back. Nice, the plum, enjoying the profits. And after a few more drinks, you understand, that crook devil's advice start to make a lot more sense to my ears. So blinded by greed, and possibly I went along with it. That night were a blur. I awoke well after noon the next day, me head fairlin' poundin'. Had no idea where was some fancy bowing house. As it turns out, on the dresser were me previous night wearings and my other winnings that night. More than enough to purchase me a self-ship. Ugh, but the River King, it give me a taste of something more. Why should young Lars content hisself with a single ship? when he could have a fleet. Just needed to chance me a handful more times. That's Bilgewater. There's riches to be had if you're willing to risk everything over and over. With old Two Coats' arm around me, I was led from the dice tables to other halls of avious form backroom card games to gambling and betting parlors high and low. I spent a fortune, lost a fortune, and then made it back all again. Around and around in that alluring spiral I went. I was feeling the hunger, the yearning, and it was pulling me down like a whirlpool. Years passed, and somewhere along the way, I'm ashamed to say I forgot what was doing all this for. I forgot who I was. I had it all, but it never were enough. I wanted more. I really wanted more. And then I started losing big. That made me double down, go for broke, all for nothing. And then eventually, all or nothing. Looking for the big stakes to put me back on top. Pretty soon, I was in a worse state than I'd been to start with. Sleeping in the gutter, catching rats to eat if I were lucky. I begged, borrowed, and stole from everyone who ever shown me any kindness. Lost all my mates, and just sadly chasing a dream. He feeds on misery. See? Does Tahm Kench. As old as sin is, and older than Bilgewater by far, been round from the start of things, Gorgon himself on the desperation that comes with greed and sorrow in men's heart. I mean, I done it to myself, but it were him what give me what the means. You might say, it took me to the cliff's edge. But I were the nuppy what threw myself off. Beg your pardon. And that old glutton revealed me in despair. Came to me once more. He did. When I was at my very lowest. Drinking from the puddles, having sold me own leg to be used for chum. In the darkest night, whispering and cajoling, he presses this gold kraken back into my hand with a knowing wink. 'Twere the same one I'd be back at the start. It were this damn coin what started me on that wretched path. Eh, me opened his mouth up wide and up. Up then wide, and said, "It's not too late, Lars. Never too late. Come with me, and we'll find you a fortune again." Even after everything, I was tempted. Course I was. But no. I recited Mother Serpent knows how. Two Coats only laughed. Said he'd be there when I changed my mind. And sure enough, the temptation's still there. Now and every single day. So here I am, friendless, broke. All the best years of my life behind me, wasted in all those lost decades. I can't even remember most of it. Neither so know if I've even enjoyed myself in those. Anyways, enough rambling. There's a lesson to be learned. You keep your little purse strings tight and never, ever Make a deal with the River King. You've always got more to lose. You've always got more to lose.